At the dawn of creation, before time itself was defined, Helios was born, son of the Titans Hyperion and Ti. His arrival in the world marked the beginning of a new era, illuminating the primordial darkness with his radiant presence. Helios was not just any god. He was the personification of the sun, the source of light and heat that gave life to every living being. Hyperion, the Titan of light, was a luminous and radiant being, capable of illuminating the darkest corners of the universe with his mere presence. Ti, on the other hand, was the personification of divine vision, a deity whose gaze could glimpse the deepest secrets of the cosmos. When these two cosmic beings came together in an act of transcendental love, their energies merged, giving birth to a son, Helios. The birth of Helios was an event that shook the foundations of the cosmos. The heavens opened, and a torrent of blinding light flooded the world, heralding the arrival of the being who would rule over day and night. "Behold!" exclaimed Hyperion, in a voice that resounded like celestial thunder. "Our son is born, and his radiance surpasses even that of the brightest stars." Ti, enveloped in an aura of divine wisdom, watched the newborn, glimpsing the destiny that awaited him. This child will be the guardian of the sun, the one charged with guiding its fiery chariot through the heavens each day. From his first breath, Helios shone with a blinding light, illuminating the world with his radiant presence. His skin glowed like the purest gold, and his eyes were like two miniature suns, capable of dispelling the thickest shadows. As he grew older, his power grew more intense, and his radiance became increasingly difficult for mortal beings to bear. Nevertheless, the gods and titans recognized in him an unparalleled potential, a being destined to play a pivotal role in the balance of the cosmos. Helios did not take long to prove his worth, for his ability to control light was unmatched. With just a wave of his hand, he could make the sun's rays intensify or dim, shaping day and night as he pleased. Despite his immeasurable power, Helios was a humble and compassionate being, aware of the importance of maintaining a delicate balance between light and darkness. He knew that his task was to illuminate the world and respect the natural cycles of life and death. As Helios reached the fullness of his power, his presence became ever more imposing in the vast cosmos. Each morning, he rode his golden chariot drawn by fiery steeds whose manes were dancing flares. With a simple snap of the reins, the sky would be tinged with orange and reddish hues, heralding the advent of a new day. His beautiful wife, the nymph Clytia, admired him from the ground, turning her face towards him as he crossed the firmament. Her eyes, reflecting the sunlight, shone with immeasurable love. However, Helios was forbidden to stop on his journey, for it was his sacred duty to maintain the course of the sun to preserve the balance of the cosmos. As he traversed the firmament, Helios witnessed life blossoming in his wake. Fields were tinged with vibrant green, flowers opened their petals to receive his rays, and animals awoke from their nocturnal slumber, filling the air with their songs and roars. However, the reign of Helios was not only a hymn to life. When the sun reached its highest point, its heat became scorching, threatening to consume everything it touched. At these moments, Helios demonstrated his true mastery, modulating the intensity of his rays to avoid destruction. On his journey through the skies, Helios would make out the vast expanses of land, the expansive oceans and the towering mountains. Each landscape was a canvas on which he left his luminous imprint, revealing the wonders of the world to mortal beings. As the day drew to a close, Helios slowly descended towards the horizon, tinting the sky with warm orange hues. Then he greeted his sister Selene, the goddess of the moon, who took over to rule the night with her silvery light. "My brother," Selene said with a smile, "once again you have fulfilled your sacred duty. Let the darkness extend for a while so that mortal beings can rest and replenish their strength." Helios nodded solemnly, aware that his work was never done. Every day, without fail, he would set out on his journey across the heavens, bringing the light of the sun to every corner of the world. Phaethon was the son of Helios, the sun god, and the nymph Clymene. Raised by his mother in Egypt, the offspring of Helios grew up listening to stories of the greatness of his father, who each day crossed the sky in his golden chariot, bringing daylight to the world. Phaethon, eager to meet his father and prove his divine lineage, traveled to the palace of Helios. Upon his arrival, Helios received him with joy and confirmed that he was his son, offering him anything he wished to prove. "Father," exclaimed Phaethon in a burst of boldness as Helios prepared his chariot to begin the morning's journey, "I have watched your work for years, and I know I can do it as well as you. Allow me to drive the chariot of the sun, if only for a day." Helios, shocked by his son's request, shook his head with concern. "My son, you do not understand the magnitude of the task you have entrusted to me. Guiding the chariot of the sun is a sacred responsibility that requires skill, strength, and, above all, prudence." But Phaethon, blinded by his youthful ambition, was not willing to take no for an answer. With a defiant look, he replied, "Do you doubt my ability, or do you fear that your son will surpass you in skill?" At these words, Helios felt a pang of pain in his heart. He knew he could not refuse his son without hurting his pride, but he could allow an act of recklessness to unleash a cosmic disaster. "Very well, Phaethon," Helios finally conceded. "I will grant you your wish, but you must swear to me that you will follow my instructions to the letter. The path the steeds travel is narrow and dangerous, and a single stumble could trigger devastating consequences." Eyes shining with excitement, Phaethon nodded vigorously, vowing to keep his word. Helios, with an uneasy feeling growing within him, handed him the reins of the chariot, offering him a final warning. "Remember, my son, that the power of the sun is immense and must be treated with respect. Do not allow arrogance to cloud your judgment." Phaethon, however, barely listened to his father's words. His mind was flooded with dreams of glory and greatness, convinced that he would soon prove his worth to gods and mortals alike. From his throne of clouds, Zeus, the king of the gods, watched the scene, for he knew well the dangers of ruling over the sun, for his power was capable of consuming even the strongest. "Fool," roared Zeus, shaking the very foundations of Olympus. "Does he not understand that his ambition could bring about the ruin of all we know?" As Phaethon took the reins of the chariot, the fiery steed sensed his insecurity and began to fret. With a single movement, they knocked the young man from the chariot, dragging him through the skies in an erratic and uncontrollable trajectory. Helios, horrified, watched helplessly as his son lost control of the chariot. The runaway steeds were coming dangerously close to the earth, threatening to set fire to everything in their path. "Zeus," cried Helios, kneeling before the king of the gods, "I implore you to intervene before it is too late." Zeus, recognizing the gravity of the situation, decided to proceed. With a wave of his hand, he summoned the winds and clouds, preparing to act. "Listen," Phaethon echoed the thunderous voice of Zeus. "Your audacity has endangered the delicate balance of the cosmos. For the good of all, I must put an end to this madness." Before Phaethon could respond, a fiery bolt of lightning descended from the sky, striking the chariot with devastating force. The young man was violently ejected, plummeting to earth. The gods held their breath, watching as Phaethon plummeted towards his final destination. Finally, his lifeless body plunged into the waters of the river Eridanus, putting an end to his foolish defiance. Helios, grief-stricken, gazed at the smoking wreckage of the chariot that had once been his pride and joy. Tears of grief streamed down his face as he mourned the loss of his beloved son. Phaethon's sisters, the Heliades, mourned his loss and were transformed into poplars, and their tears turned to amber. After the heartbreaking loss of his son Phaethon, Helios was plunged into overwhelming sadness. For endless days, his chariot remained motionless in the heavens, plunging the world into perpetual darkness. Mortals cried out for the light of the sun, while the gods watched with growing concern. Eventually, the wise Athena came to the lament of Helios. In a soft voice she spoke to him. "Helios, guardian of the sun, your grief is understandable, but you cannot allow the pain to consume you completely. The cosmos depends on you to maintain the balance between light and darkness." Helios, immersed in grief, could barely raise his eyes to the goddess. "How can I continue my sacred task when the memory of my son haunts me with every ray of sunlight?" Athena laid her hand on Helios' shoulder, offering him comfort. "Honor the memory of Phaethon by going forward with courage. Let his sacrifice be a lesson in the importance of humility and respect for the forces that govern the cosmos." Gradually, Athena's words began to sink into Helios' heart. He understood that his duty was not only to the gods and mortals, but also to himself. He had to find the strength to overcome his pain and continue his eternal journey through the heavens. Finally, Helios took up the reins of his chariot. The steeds, sensing their master's return, shivered with anticipation. And as Helios whipped the reins, the sun once again began to ascend on the horizon, bathing the world in its golden light. And though his heart still bore the scar of loss, Helios stood firm in his purpose, vowing never again to leave his sacred post. And so, generation after generation, Helios continued his eternal journey, bringing the light of day to every corner of the world. His legend would live on forever in the memory of mortals and gods alike. This video has been created for Labyrinth of Crete. See you on a new mythological adventure.